Let the redeemed of the Lord say. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, because the world needs to know. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, because the world needs. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, because the world needs to know. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, because the world needs to know.
To say so, where we talk about it, whatever it is, because what you do not know can hurt you. So let's get to the root. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Letitia R. Stuckey, and for today's episode of Say So, we're going to continue with the series From Child Abuse to Domestic Violence. We're going to go more in depth with the 10 signs you've experienced emotional abuse as a child. And just to review, we're going to give the actual definition of what domestic violence is. Domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship that is used by one partner to gain or maintain control over another intimate partner. And if you gain nothing else from this episode, now there are 8 types or forms of domestic violence. The first is emotional, psychological, or mental abuse. Now this can be done verbally or non-verbally. The non-verbal is basically with your body posture, maybe a threatening posture or a look, some sort of gesture where you're not saying anything out of your mouth, but you're saying something. You're making a threat, letting them know that you're angry or that you want them to stop talking or whatever the issue may be. Examples of this, the verbal portion of it, would be criticizing, name calling, or making decisions for that person. So if you go out to eat, you would order for that person. You would tell them what they can wear, where they can go, how long they can stay, if they can go, things of that nature. The second type of abuse is physical abuse. Physical abuse is the use of physical force against another in a way that ends up injuring the person or puts them at risk of being injured. That could be pushing someone, that could be jerking someone up, that could be choking someone, that could be hitting someone, slapping, punching, all of those physical things, basically fighting or physically accosting someone else. The third form of abuse is sexual, and it's often linked with physical abuse. They may actually occur together or after a bout with physical abuse. So with them occurring together, you could be having sexual intercourse and the person, hits you, or they hit you after a bout with physical abuse. Could be if they were to slap you for something that they say you did or they feel that you did wrong, and they slap you. So then they may say, come over here and give me a kiss, or come over here, and they may want you to perform sexual favors on them or for them. So that's a form of sexual abuse. And the examples that are provided was force unwanted acts or minimize your feelings or your preferences about sex. So you may not feel like having sex if this individual has just physically abused you and slapped you in your face. You may feel disrespected, you may feel hurt, you may feel shocked, and you may not want to have sex. So they're going to disregard what you want to have you or make you satisfy their sexual urge, their sexual needs, despite what you feel. And despite, honestly, your nonverbal communication. You may be crying, you may still be visibly upset, yet they could care less. It's about them and not you. The fourth type of abuse is financial. This would be withholding resources. This would be stealing from the victim or using their name to incur debt. And examples of this would be forcing the other person to work, refusing to let them work so that they can remain financially dependent on you. So if you are the breadwinner and you're telling your significant other, your wife, your same-sex partner, whoever, whichever individual you're in relationship with, if you're telling them that they cannot work, then so ultimately you have the decision on whether or not to provide for them or the child. You can even manipulate them. If you don't do this, then I'm not going to give you allowance, or I'm not going to get your hair done or your nails, or I'm not going to buy you anything for Mother's Day or your birthday, so on and so forth. So that's just another area or way to obtain and maintain power and control over that individual. You could force them to work. So let's say you want to stay home playing video games all day. You tell them they have to work, because in order to maintain a standard of living, especially if you have children, as a mother, no mother wants to see her children go without. No mother wants to see her children hungry or not having proper clothes or things that they need for school. So if she goes out to work and you sit home and do whatever it is that you do, you could be cheating behind her back while she's at work for those 8 hours, however long her shift lasts. You could be doing whatever pretty much that you want to do. She becomes the breadwinner by force and not necessarily by choice. The fifth type or form of abuse is social. And this would incur embarrassing or humiliating your partner in public or with friends. Them about what they do sexually, what they're good at, what they're not good at. Just embarrassing things that you probably wouldn't want someone else to know about you. And they wait until they get you in a public forum, like out to eat with friends at the mall or at a cookout or something like that, and they choose to humiliate you. They choose to embarrass you. Which will cause you to pull away typically and not want to participate in social gatherings, and that may make you turn against or feel that your family and friends are against you or on your perpetrator's side, because they're manipulating them, and they may not even know what your perpetrator is doing is hurting you or whatever, but they're just laughing at a joke. There may be some innuendo that is about you. The sixth example or type of abuse is verbal, which is coercion. Basically another tool for manipulating, coercing you into doing things that you don't necessarily want to do, talking you into doing things that you don't want to do. For example, if you have friends, when you meet them, they will systematically, if not all at once, tell you those friends aren't good for you, they don't like you, they are, interested in me, or they don't like me, or they don't like me. The sixth type of abuse is verbal. Blaming, saying it's your fault that the children are bad, it's your fault that the house is not clean, it's your fault we don't have money. Threats, saying that if you don't do this, then I'm going to hit you, I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to make you shut up, I'm going to make you obey. Nature. The seventh type of abuse is spiritual, which is anything that comes in the way of you doing something that makes you feel good about yourself. Examples of this would be not allowing you to practice your morals or go to church, religious beliefs, making you give things up. So if they don't want you to go to church, then they'll emotional and psychological abuse, saying that the people at the church don't like you, they only want your money, they don't care nothing about us and our family. They're isolating you from individuals outside your home. And pretty much the walls are going to close in on you. Your reach is going to get smaller and smaller until there's no one left. That's the purpose, power and control over you. And they can't do that if you have a social support system, such as friends, such as family members, such as loved ones, such as church members, things of that nature. People at school, your colleagues, they will isolate and they'll find a reason for you to make them your whole world. So they don't just want you to be financial, for you to make them your whole world. So they don't just want you to be financially dependent on them. They want you to be completely dependent and actually codependent on them, where they're so much a part of everything that you do, your everyday routine, that you don't need anybody else. They're your emotional support, they're your financial support, they're everything to you. It's healthy to have a support system outside of that individual, because what happens when you have challenges with that individual? You typically can't go to them and tell them about themselves or their challenges. What if you need advice or something like that about them or your current situation? The eighth and final is technological abuse, is using text or social media or social networking to bully, harass, or stalk or intimidate an individual. So if all of the above has not worked, and let's say you've actually mustered up the courage and the strength to leave this abusive marriage, relationship, whatever, interaction, friendship, previous roommate ship, whatever you want to call it, now they're stalking you on social media. They're commenting on your stuff. Now, you're not friends and you're not supposed to be together. You haven't talked to them. You're not responding to their calls. You're completely ignoring them. And they're letting you know that they're obsessed and they're not going to be ignored. So they're going to start commenting on your posts or start liking your posts, or they're going to start trying to post on your timeline or things of that nature. Maybe on their own page, they're going to post pictures of when you guys were together, or they lost the best thing that ever happened to them. They may even post videos of them being emotional in the aftermath of the relationship to garner sympathy from people, mutual friends, people that know both of you or whatever, to try to get them so that they can try to talk to you or get you to come back and say, wow, he's really crying, he really seems to be hurt, he's just not himself, and all of this. And a lot of that, the root of that is mental health issues. They may be going through depression and anxiety and things of that nature, because realistically, what is someone who loves to control someone else when they've lost the person that they're used to controlling and having power over? They've literally lost control, figuratively as well as literally. So they're going to cry, they're going to moan, they want to get you back because they need that power and control to feel above someone. Realistically, they have extreme insecurities. So the examples that are given here is also that technological abuse is a form of verbal or emotional abuse perpetuated online. As I said, there's going to be some overlap. So the specific examples are calls, texting at unimaginable frequency. So maybe 30 to 40 emails a day, messages, 10 to 20 voicemails per day. Harassment. They don't want to be out of your mind, out of your thoughts. They don't want you to heal. Then they threaten you or put their hands on you or whatever to know the password because they're jealous, they're insecure, and they need to know everything that you're doing. And the flip side of this is they need to know everything that you're doing. And the flip side of this is they may require all of this of you and adhere to none of this for you. So for example, you don't know their passcodes. You have no way to access their social media. You have no way to access their phone and their voicemails and their text messages. And you can't tell them about their friends or their family or the people in their social circle. And other forms or examples of technological abuse is having access to your financial accounts, which can also lead to financial abuse. Controlling social media or monitoring you on social media. Using GPS where you are, when you are, where you are. Also making threats to use social media against the partner. So if you don't come back to me, I'm going to post a video. I'm going to post pictures that you sent me when you were sexting, when you guys were in a relationship or whatever. So inappropriate pictures, they're going to threaten to release those or post those, which is appropriate pictures. They're going to threaten to release those or post those, which is another form of social abuse by embarrassing and humiliating you in a public way or on a public platform. Also mentioned making a post or videos. And I have an actual example, a real life example that I individual, and they were in a relationship. The relationship was dissolved. The individual, which was actually the perpetrator, was on Facebook and posted a video of them crying, talking about how they've lost the best thing they've ever had in their lives, so on and so forth. Long story short, this is the perpetrator or all of their friends and anybody that can see their posts to be the victim because they're crying, they're emotional. You're only hearing and seeing one side of the relationship or one side of the story. So they're garnering empathy and people are like, you're not a bad person, don't worry about it, and things. They're the person who cursed the other person out or was physically abusive or who did whatever caused the breakup. But they're not including that. They're going to brush over that and say, yeah, I know I was wrong or I did something wrong and I shouldn't have done it. And then they're going to continue with the fluff of how they miss this person and how they love this person and how they miss this person and how they love this person and how they, can't live without this person or whatever. So this is an example of using of technological abuse as well as social, because it's embarrassing and can be humiliating if you have mutual friends or mutual church members or people that, and there's a video basically telling your business or their version, which is honestly nobody else's business. So some people use social media, and that's a form of technological abuse. We are going to go into the 10 signs you experienced emotional abuse as a child. If the victim has been abused when they were younger, they might have certain patterns of behavior in their adult life that stem from their childhood. So basically, childhood is the foundation on which we stand as adults. Whatever foundation was established from your childhood, then you're standing on that foundation no matter how cracked, how unstable childhood, then you're standing on that foundation no matter how cracked, how unstable and unhealthy it is. That's your foundation. This is what the seeds that were sown into the soil of your soul. This is what makes you into who you are and who you will be if there's no intervention to rectify the situation. The first sign that you've experienced emotion, you are constantly apologizing. You're constantly saying I'm sorry, even when it's not necessary. And this may stem from the way you were treated as a child and feeling like you never measured up, constantly feeling that you're not able to do anything right, or everything bad that's going to happen or has happened is your number 2. You second guess yourself. Confidence can be a hard trait to possess, but if you always second guess everything, it may have something to do with your childhood. You may have grown up in a chaotic and abusive environment. You may have a hard time believing in yourself. So you second guess yourself. You're very insecure. You feel and have a hard time believing in yourself. So you second guess yourself. You're very insecure. You feel inadequate. So you're afraid. Honestly, the root of this is fear of making the wrong decision, because you may have made the wrong decisions in the past and you don't want to repeat that cycle. So when you make a decision, there's always gray areas. So it's not yes or no. So when you make a decision, there's always gray areas. So it's not yes or no. It's not black or white. It's gray. Well, maybe, quite possibly, I might. It's like you're afraid to settle in and say, look, this is something I'm not going to do, and this is what I will do. It's always maybe potentially a back and forth, and it could also stem from coercion or being not going to do this. If the right person asks you to, or they ask nicely or whatever, they can manipulate you into doing something you don't necessarily want to do. You're just really questioning your ability to make the right decisions. Number 3 is that you are sensitive to loud noises. And scary and very unpredictable for a child. This makes me think of waking up in the middle of the night when you have school the next morning to your parents yelling or screaming or arguing. And you were in a peaceful, blissful place, and now you're torn away from that by loud noises, and you're uncertain about what's happening. You're trying to everybody is okay, or what they're yelling about, or what mom is screaming about, or dad, and it's just really unstable. It's really unpredictable. So it can cause you to be jumpy and anxious. So jumping every time a car alarm goes off is an example. Or your first reaction is fear when something falls. But you may have had your first reaction is fear when something falls. But you may have had things thrown at you, or may have seen things thrown at someone else. So loud noises and sudden moves keep you on edge, and this may be due to an abusive home life. Number 4 of the 10 signs you have experienced emotional abuse is you time trusting others. You may stay to yourself. Introversion puts me in the mind of like a turtle, where you just go into your shell. You're afraid to come out, and you don't often come out. You're afraid to trust other people. So relationships are challenging for you, because relationships require trust. They require vulnerability, to have a certain level of openness. And if you're in your shell all the time, you're closed to that possibility. Being afraid to get close or to show what or who you really are. That also is an insecurity and can be indicative of low self-esteem, because you may or may not know who you really are. And you're of low self-esteem because you may or may not know who you really are. And you're afraid to show your real, authentic, true self because you fear rejection. You don't think that they will accept you, or they will understand, or that they will like you or continue to be your friend. You may distance yourself from others in order to stay safe. And once again, like hard, it's a defense mechanism, and it's very hard to penetrate. So once I go in my shell, I'm safe. it's predictable here. I know what's going on here. I know no one else is in here that can hurt me or do anything to me, so I'm going to stay here. The fifth sign that you've experienced emotional abuse is you. It's important to know and note that keeping eye contact when you're having a conversation makes you seem poised and confident. So the opposite of that would mean it makes you seem insecure and not confident. And that's indicative or one of the signs or symptoms of low self-esteem. Eye contact. You may feel anxious about making eye contact with others, and that may stem from a previous experience as children. If you were raised in a militant or military household, they are taught in the military not to have eye contact. It's seen as a form of not to have eye contact. It's seen as a form of disrespect. If you're speaking with a superior officer, you look straight ahead. You don't look them in the eye and things of that nature. And even in wildlife, if you look a dog in the eye, that they're territorial, so they see that as a challenge, so now they're coming after you. And as a child, it could be that you were taught that children are to be seen and not to be heard, so you don't feel comfortable engaging in a confident manner or a confident way with adults or maybe even with other children. It just depends. The sixth sign that you've experienced emotional abuse as a child is conflict is inevitable. You're not going to get along with everyone. You're not going to agree with everyone. There are going to be times where you can agree to disagree. But it's important that conflict can have a profound effect on your viewpoint. If you've only seen people fight, if you've only seen the dysfunctional part where people are, if you've only seen the dysfunctional part where people are injured, where people are hurt, where people are wounded from conflict, then this could scare you about conflict and you could avoid it at all costs. So if you have the option to fight or take flight, you're going to take flight every time because you're going to run from it. You're going to end conflict because the conflicts that you've seen have not ended well. And it's ended with somebody going to the hospital or somebody hurt or someone dead or something like that. So you will automatically see conflict. You will equate that to violence. And you'll do anything and everything you can to avoid it at all costs. Running feels safer than facing it at all costs. Running feels safer than facing a tough situation. And that also puts me in the mind of maybe a bullying situation where someone's being bullied. The first thing they're going to want to do is run because they're going to want to avoid that person hitting them. They're going to want to avoid that person embarrassing them, which is social abuse. They're going to want to unable to run and find themselves backed up into a corner, or there's more than one bully and there's not the option of getting away, then they may come out fighting or whatever, but that's something that they're forced to do. Their initial response or reaction is going to be to not face it at all. And of course, that's what the bully wants you to do. They know they all. And of course, that's what the bully wants you to do. They know they have you running scared, then they know they have a victim. They know that you're afraid of them and you're going to pretty much allow them to do whatever it is that they choose to do to you because you're afraid. And sometimes it's just a personality thing. There are times when individuals who are bullied, they're just not fighters. They be laid back and get along with everyone or whatever. And that's just their personality. So being aggressive and being rough and being, just abrasive and confrontational is just not in their personality. So they're going to want to run. They're going to want to talk about it. They're going to want to avoid conflict at all costs. Number 7 of the signs you've experienced emotional abuse as a child is you constantly beat yourself up. You probably do this because you've been beat up by other people or their words as a result of emotional abuse. This is a cause for low self-esteem. Your self-esteem really suffers when you're beating yourself up because, as I said, it may have previously come from a domineering parent or teachers or friends or family member, but now it's coming from you. No one else has to do it for you. You're doing it to you. And that's dangerous because you're with you all the time. And if you're always beating yourself up, always seeing the negative, positive for you, that's not helpful or healthy for you. If you're constantly beating yourself up over things you said or did, it could be caused by you being told that everything is your fault. And sometimes that is the case. Other times, children typically arrive at that conclusion by themselves. If their parents divorced, grades, I wasn't pretty enough, I wasn't loving enough. If I was a good daughter, daddy wouldn't have left. If I was a good daughter, mommy wouldn't have left, and things of that nature. And it's not their fault. It's never the child's fault. I don't care if the individuals got into an argument or upset over something that the child did. Children have a way of finding blame something that the child did. Children have a way of finding blame or finding themselves at fault for everything. And that's really, self-condemnation is an internal thing. And it's really unhealthy. Over time, it could actually cause physical ailment. And the eighth sign that you have experienced emotional abuse as a child is you may struggle with seeing yourself as worthy of the compliment. Someone compliments you on your looks or your ideas or your success and you shy away from the compliment. I have struggled with this, but the way I look at it now, I went to Christian counseling and my counselor encouraged me to think of compliments as God's way of complimenting you. So it's his way of highlighting the gifts, the talents, the abilities, the treasure that I've placed in your earthen vessel. That's one way to put a positive spin on compliments. Could potentially make you want to kind of rest in that talent that God has given you. The ninth example or sign that you've experienced emotional abuse as a child is that you are angry. And in my first book, Cast Down But Not Destroyed, Destiny's Child, I have actual illustrations of the process of a seed that grows, and the seeds that are planted grow. They take root if nurtured, and if the ground that they're sown in is conducive for growth. So I focus on not the positive seeds, because everyone loves to focus on the positive and the good side and things of that nature, but it's not the positive side of things that we're challenged by. We have that part. We're good at that. We excel. That's our area of strength part. We're good at that. We excel. That's our area of strength. It's the areas of weakness. It's the areas of challenge. Those areas that we don't want to talk about or we don't want to bring to the light and we do want to hide and keep covered under the shroud of darkness that are the issue. So in the book, there's an illustration of seeds that were planted into the soil of my soul at a very early age in childhood. It's important as it pertains to anger to understand that emotional abuse can stay with you, but if you continue to work at it, eventually delivered and set free from it. You might constantly replay your abuser's words in your head. Think about what you endured, which makes you angry. You think about a child who has been physically abused and they were smaller so they couldn't really defend themselves. And when they get older, they have a chip on their shoulders. They're angry because that little child was wounded and hurt, and it could have not even been due to anything of their fault. It could have been due to anything of their fault. It could have been they have a parent or a caregiver that is just a bully. They don't feel better until, or a sense of relief or release, until they explode and they're angry and they hit something or someone, or they hurt something or injure something or someone. So that could be nothing that the child did, but like I said, any form of abuse, they always find fault in themselves. You might not let other people see it, but deep down inside you're angry. Sometimes we become really skillful with hiding. And I talk about the mask in my book as well. We have an assortment, an array of masks, depending on depending on where we're going. We may have a church mask, we may have a work mask, we may have a school mask, we may have a mask for when we're at home, a mask for when we're in public, different things like that. So we may have an assortment of them, but the mask is only covering what's really going on. A lie is presenting a lie to the world about who you really are. The 10th and final sign that you have experienced emotional abuse as a child is you are humble. And this is the one that on the previous episode I was like, y'all have to help me with this one, because thinking of church world, humility is not seen as a bad thing. Humility is not seen as a bad thing. Now, I did receive revelation on this and I have a better understanding of it. So basically what they say is, through it all, you stayed humble and you make time to appreciate the little things, and you didn't let the abuse that you are a survivor. To me, that seems positive. So I'm not quite sure why that's a sign that you experience emotional abuse as a child. But on the flip side of that, with a mental health lens, it could be that you have the illusion that you're humble. That's why you're introverted. That's why you don't trust people. Maybe don't even communicate, because a lot of times trauma can shut you down. It can steal your voice. That is what the flip side of humility is or can be. It can be that you're in denial. So everything, you're going through hell at home, but when you get to school, you're a completely different person, because you got a mask for school, remember? So you're a completely different person, and it could actually cause your personality to be split, where you have more than one fragment of yourself or more than one piece of yourself. Something is broken, and all of the pieces need to be combined together, but there are fractures here and there due to different experiences with abuse. Basically, that brings us to the end of our episode, and I just really want to impress upon you as the listening audience how very easy it is for an individual to go from experiencing child abuse to in their adult. It is not impossible. I personally walk this journey, and I understand you don't really take the time to reflect and evaluate how you got to where you are until you can get a safe place where you can pieces and the fragments of you and the experiences that you've had and piece it together, see who you really are, where you have been, where you are, and where you plan to go. So it's just really important to understand and know that, once again, childhood is the foundation on which we stand as adults. So if your foundation is insecure, how then would you build a secure future, a secure relationship, a secure marriage, a secure parenthood on something that's already insecure? I believe that it is important for you to remember God and God alone has the final say so about where you have been, you are going, past, your present, and your future. You are simply in the process of becoming who God created, ordained, purposed, and destined you to be. Until next time, miracles and blessings to you today and every day. Today and every day.
Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, because the world needs to know. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, because the world needs to know. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, because the world needs to know. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, because the world